Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to part 9 of your Love Note series. I want to share with you today a little bit of insight around human design and how it plays a part in the way that I support all of my clients, but also in a way that it could support you just listening to this today. So, if you have a business, and by now, if you're listening, you most likely do, or you're on the precipice of starting your business, so much advice out there is given for generators and manifesting generators. We are 70% of the population, and I say we because I am a 6-2 sacral generator for those who understand human design. So 70% of the population is a generator. What about the 30% that aren't? Every single person in human design operates so uniquely different, and the journey into human design can feel very intellectual. There's a lot of quick tips and very educational content online around human design, but what I don't see happen a lot is real life integration and embodiment, which is actually the intention from the creator, was to take the time to go through the experiment of becoming your design. And that can take up to 7 years to understand how you're meant to best operate, how you communicate in partnerships, how to make decisions, right? What feels in alignment or out of alignment for you, yada, yada, yada. All those parts have to become embodied. Yet everything we know about human design is a very strict list of bits and pieces, and it almost can feel like a puzzle that you're not really sure how it all fits together. I don't know about you, but when I first learned human design, I felt very confused by it all as well. I felt very lost in the clouds of learning a new language, and at first it was very challenging for me to hear. And then once I started to put the pieces together, it started to make sense about how this can benefit every single area of my life. Why does this impact your business? How is this going to show up for you? Well, let me share a few examples for you. Inside SHE.FOR.WE right now, we have mostly non-sacral beings. Manifestors and projectors are actually in a room with me, the generator, facilitating. And how I would share human design and how I would treat people according to their human design is very, very different. For example, I often let the manifestors share first. The reason being is they're meant to inform. It's correct for the communication style to ask less questions and just speak directly. And for the projectors in the room, I'm very clear on my invitation for them to share their wisdom, because a projector often feels like they're behind the scenes and just desperately waiting for someone to say, please share with me what you think. Please share with me what you know about this. And my gosh, I freaking love when I get to sit in the room with a bunch of projectors because there is so much wisdom to be shared there. When I've had generators or manifesting generators in the group, I very much observe what they're responding to. Sometimes that can be a verbal response, and sometimes I see their energy kind of come towards, and I love knowing what they have to share in response to what I'm sharing. I'm very good at asking the right questions to get a yes or no answer if they're stuck in a decision-making loop. And in addition, I haven't had a reflector join the group yet because they're only 1% of the population. But if that's you, you're always welcome to join. How I would operate with a reflector in the container is follow up with questions that I asked last month. For a reflector, it's super important to follow the transits of the planets so that you can find your unique alignment through the journey of a lunar cycle. So how is this all playing out in real life? Well, in business, we see a lot of act now, move fast, hustle, hard work, push yourself, and there's no space for honoring all the different human design types. One of my favorite things to do is when a client is struggling with something inside SHE.FOR.WE, we will look at it from all the emotional components, from some of the past life experience stuff. We'll analyze it with some of my trauma lens and nervous system tools, and then we will look at human design and see if this is something that's a permission slip opportunity for them to be themselves, or if it's an opportunity for them to learn a lesson in stepping more into their unique alignment. And I don't even know human design courses that teach you what human design in alignment feels like. One of my super skills as a facilitator, and this is the feedback I've been given by the participants, is seeing the individual within the group, treating them as an individual within the group, but then bringing it all together. So my projectors love to share insights, and I praise them and validate them and recognize them for those insights. My generators and manifesting generators love to have questions that don't feel too open-ended, that they don't know how to respond. So I engage with this or that questions and I invite them to be in their body to feel what that gut feeling feels like. For my manifestors, I love really encouraging them to be bold, to be brave, and to be themselves and do it their way. And I encourage the nervous system again to flow with a sense of inner peace so that they feel really good in their bodies. What I love picking apart in human design as well is just seeing the patterns and the themes that come up for each different type. And what I love seeing is my clients flourish when they lean into their design. One of the things that like a worksheet's not going to support you with or a generic blanket course might not support you with is challenging you to do things that aren't correct for you, your body, and your human design. For example, I would never, ever, ever tell a manifestor or a projector or a reflector to have one set, consistent schedule. Yet that's one of the most common advices that people get to be successful business owners is show up consistently for your business, show up consistently on social media, show up consistently in life, and you will have success in your way. The reality is that advice is great for generators and manifesting generators, but it does not suit the non-sacrals. I know that when a projector rests, the wisdom happens. I remember in the early days when we first started gathering, there was a manifestor in our group, and she very much was learning fresh, with a fresh set of eyes for human design. And she was also an emotional manifestor, and she informed me that she observed a pattern after I reminded her of this, that every time she gives herself permission to kind of stay in her bedroom and curl up with a good book and relax and rest, the next day she is flooded with insights and awarenesses. Because that's correct for a manifester. And manifestors know when is the time to do that. Manifestors can get a lot of stuff done in a very short period of time, and then they also need downtime to chill out and be by themselves and find that inner peace that they're so longing for. And this is correct, but think about a world out there right now that isn't really made for that. You're pressured to work a 9 to 5. You're pressured to show up the same in your friendships, relationships, and family. You're pressured to be a certain way all the time. But I want you to also consider if you have an undefined identity center in your human design, that's a little diamond right smack in the middle of the chart. If it's white and that means it's undefined, girl, you've got no one set way of operating because you don't have necessarily a consistent sense of identity. So you're always going to be asking the who am I question. But when you're in a group with women who some might have that defined or some might actually complete a channel so that that feels in alignment for you when you're in that container, the perk of that, and this is what I love about design, we influence each other positively. And you can get so clear on who you are in this world. And you can get so clear on how much and where you're supposed to go in this world. You can get so clear on all the components of who you're meant to be in your purpose when you're in the room and that center gets defined. And here's where, again, because I understand human design, I look and remember the members of my group's human design, and I see the wobble of the who am I question come up, and I remind them, oh, that's just your undefined identity center talking. Let's go to your strategy and authority to make the decision. And every single human design type is meant to be in the body, which is another reason why I love integrating the body with human design. If you don't know human design and you're like, I want to be a part of SHE.FOR.WE, but I don't understand my human design, well, I'll tell you what. If you join right now, there's tons of extra perks around getting some one-on-one time with me to understand your human design chart. I love talking about this subject, so even if you are a part of the group and you don't do the extra perks with me one-on-one, you'll start to glean very quickly themes and patterns and realize how you're meant to live in alignment. And obviously, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to explain if you have questions on our live calls any point in time. Because as a woman's alignment coach, my number one goal for you is to find your alignment. And if there's anything that you've probably taken away from all these weeks of sharing my love notes, is that I want to see you, know you, and treat you as the individual that you are. And when you join a bazillion and one massive groups and take course after course after course after course telling you who you are, it's a bit of a roadblock. And it's a bit of a coping strategy to stop you from actually stepping into your power. It's like you're over-intellectualizing the emotions and the belief of I'm scared to be seen, I'm scared of my success, and I'm scared of what's possible, so I'm going to stay in student mode as opposed to step into my leadership. Because I get it. As someone who perpetually wanted a mentor, who perpetually wanted someone to step in and take care of it for her, calling myself a leader felt like I was stopping myself from that potential. But the reality is, it was quite literally the opposite. Once I realized the liberation that came with this identity of I am meant to lead, I stepped into my embodied version of myself. And I learned what self-responsibility was like. And instead of feeling like that was a burden on my shoulders, oh, being a leader requires more responsibility. Being a leader requires self-responsibility, taking care of yourself your way. And when you learn about your human design as a leader, that also requires you to learn how to step into what it means to operate in alignment for you. And I would love to teach you all the different ways you can do that for your clients and your business as well. So the members of SHE.FOR.WE also have access to an entire course I did around understanding the fundamental components of human design. It's a game changer. I'm trying to think of how long it is, but it's probably a good 5 to 10 hours worth of content for you to just really understand how to show up best for your business. It's juicy and it's a good foundational component if you are that coach or that healer or that therapist who wants to learn the basics to treat your clients the way that they're meant to be treated, to give them advice that actually supports their design as opposed to generic things that just would have supported you along the way. Because here is the thing, I will never, ever, ever tell a manifestor to wait to respond. I will never tell a projector to power through and make sure that everyone hears what they have to say. And these are so the foundational components that are going to transform you and your business. And if you don't understand your human design, please, for the love of God, do not go on ChatGPT, because I can't tell you the amount of times that it actually misread my chart so much. I'm glad that I understand human design, so I called ChatGPT out on it, but literally, I tell you not. I'll tell you this, ChatGPT cannot read your chart properly. And all it's going to do is give you heady information that you don't really understand how to integrate it into your day-to-day life. And my specialty is creating complex, or my specialty is actually understanding and teaching complex concepts in a way that you can understand it. It's literally in my design. But I also love helping people have real world examples that they resonate with so that it sticks. And again, like we've talked about before, then they can have the awareness, then they can integrate the awareness, and then they can start to embody the awareness. So if you are curious about how to embody your design, one of the best byproducts of being a part of She.For.We is exactly that. In addition, if you're like, well, She.For.We might not be for me, but I want to learn about my human design, well, every single one of my clients walks away feeling like they're very familiar with how to understand their human design because it's a key component to, again, our awareness of what's happening. So it's one of the tools that I have in my tool belt to support the big picture, the holistic picture of who you are as a woman. Because women are multidimensional and we have to look at all the different facets of what makes you you, what makes you special, and what makes you who you are today. If you want individualized support with understanding your human design, I also offer human design coaching packages and individual readings. Additionally, I also offer readings for parents and partners so that you can actually understand your relationship as well. Because one of my favorite parts about human design is understanding how we energetically impact each other. The relational component is just so fascinating to understand. So much more complex in astrology in many ways, and also very different. It's, to me, easier to sense and feel than some of the other high-level concepts. I would love to explore your human design with you, and I would love to, again, continue to debunk some of the traditional strategies of business and help you find a strategy that works for you and your design. If you're curious, check out the show notes. I'd love for you to join us inside She.For.We. Maybe we can do a reading together and potentially work one-on-one if that's more your jam. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to sharing more with you on these Love Notes series.